Lando Norris is on the verge of quitting McLaren, particularly now that the squad has begun to unravel, with Sidel departing for Salba. Before we dive in, let's see what Lando said about his performance with McLaren. "We were close, we just didn't quite have the magical race that we needed to get into the championship, but we finished where we deserved to finish." That sounds disappointing, doesn't it? Despite having a contract through 2025, the young British driver's dissatisfaction with the McLaren vehicle is growing. While many believe he's acquired enough to commit long-term to McLaren, Formula One is a cruel business, and if a specific driver isn't provided what he's asking for, he may as well leave the base entirely for a higher-performing team, like Red Bull. Both teams have the circumstances in place to make this happen, and we're in for a wild ride with this battle. Norris joined McLaren in 2019, replacing Fernando Alonso, and raced alongside Carlos Sainz Jr. in his debut season with the team. Both were essential in McLaren's performance in 2020, with the team placing third in the Constructors' Championship and defeating a contentious team in Racing Points as well as a competitive one in Reno. Norris showed in 2021 that he had the necessary talent to become a champion one day, and what we were persuaded of in 2021, that McLaren is on the correct track, was discredited in 2022. Performance was underwhelming in 2022. The media speculated that Norris's contract with McLaren may expire after 2025. Norris has spoken about his future with McLaren several times. Furthermore, in 2024 and 2025, the squad will have no excuses and will need to compete. However, given McLaren's present trajectory, we are unsure whether they will be competitive in the next few years. And now that Norris is unsatisfied with the team, the entire base squad is in for a fascinating and rather difficult season. The young and promising Brit has mentioned several times about McLaren's disappointment in 2022 and the fact that they've only completed one podium, which only adds to McLaren's issues in the coming years. When asked about this, Norris stated that he isn't satisfied with only one podium result, and that the team's speed in 2024 shouldn't increase much, considering that they didn't move a muscle in 2023. With all this in mind, one can't help but wonder, is Norris actually leaving McLaren? He's been outstanding in his battles with Ricciardo, finally forcing the Australian to be replaced by Oscar Piastri. But now that Ricciardo's younger compatriot has joined the team, he has a purpose to prove that he is a future race winner and champion one day. This is something Norris has on his goal list as well, so we should witness a real clash between the grid's youngest duo. Things might eventually get out of hand between Norris and McLaren, and given the club's past and failure to meet the challenge, Norris's anger could lead to his being moved to another team. So I think the whole season has just been a lot of ups and downs. Sadly, not enough ups. You're the best of the rest outside the top 3 teams. I hate saying that, to be honest, mate. No way. I don't know. Red Bull is the squad that is now on the lookout for him. The Austrian team is having a lot of difficulties with the driver combination and chemistry between Verstappen and Perez, so they might use a young and promising driver like Norris. So will this happen anytime soon? According to recent sources, Red Bull has been urged to execute a buyout on Lando Norris's McLaren contract, and therefore replace Sergio Perez with a young and promising British driver. This may appear to many to be a far-fetched situation, yet it's not that far from reality. There have been several disagreements between Verstappen and Perez, and Damon Hill reports that Verstappen has already requested the team to replace Perez in the future. While he prefers Ricciardo above Norris, it's clear that Norris would be a far better option for the Austrian team than the Aussie, given that we've been able to compare both of their performances at McLaren in the past 2 years. This scenario is complicated by the fact that Norris indicated that he prefers vehicles with a lot of front end, which Red Bull can absolutely offer. McLaren, unlike Red Bull, doesn't have this sort of car, which is why Norris has often expressed dissatisfaction with how the car has performed. It's certain that Norris will not quit McLaren in the coming season, and it's likely that this scenario will not occur in the following 2 seasons because Norris officially stated that he would give McLaren a chance until 2024 or 2025 before winning a race or title. However, Perez's contract expires at the conclusion of the 2024 season, so the timing may potentially be ideal. So what does Sky Sports F1 commentator Karen Chaddock have to say about this? "I think Red Bull should be going hard to try and buy Lando Norris. He's got a contract at McLaren until the end of 2025. I wonder if he thinks that too." Sky F1's Simons Lazenby discussed this with Karen Chaddock, adding that there are some changes coming in Red Bull and that there will be a lot of turbulence from the team that won 2 drivers' championships in a row. Ricciardo's already thinking about the time he stops racing. If he's thinking that, then Red Bull should be thinking it too. Personally, I would be trying to identify somebody else to come in. But one thing is certain, being Verstappen's teammate is certainly the most difficult job imaginable. Yes, Red Bull has the finest machinery on the grid, and if there's a team that can provide a driver the best chance of winning races, it has to be Red Bull. Unfortunately, Red Bull also has Verstappen. who doesn't appear to be slowing down anytime soon. What he's done in Formula 1 over the last 2 seasons has been flawless, and dethroning him would be a difficult task that few people could do. This is something Natalie Pinkham of Sky F1 mentioned as well, adding, "But the problem is doing that, as we've seen with Gasoline and Albon, it's like lambs to the slaughter. It's very difficult to be Max's teammate. If you bring a rookie in too soon, it could crush their careers." As of today, Norris has 1 career pole position and came close to winning the race in Sochi. However, the rain had other intentions for the 2021 iteration of this event, and Norris came close to winning the race prior to Sochi that year. However, the team didn't want to break Ricciardo's spirits and instructed Norris to not fight and let Ricciardo win in order to restore his confidence. We've all seen how things went for Ricciardo and McLaren, and now that Norris is supposed to be leaving the team, what does a young British driver have to say about it? They're clueless. I don't know why everyone thinks they know. He definitely could have gone here. He could have done that, but most of the time they know absolutely nothing. All these people coming up with these conclusions, I've played, let's say, a little bit more of a long-term game rather than a short-term. However, now that Andrea Sidel has left the squad and Zach Brown has elevated Andrea Stella to the post, it will be extremely intriguing to see if Norris can rediscover his rhythm with a new team concept and the new problems that the team will face beginning with the 2023 season. Martin Brundle says Sidel's leaving for McLaren is a disaster for both the club and Norris. And he adds, the big thing for McLaren is their new wind tunnel in 2020. So Lando will be looking at it and thinking, why is Andreas jumping ship? What has Andreas seen? An Audi that he much prefers to McLaren? Obviously, it's going to be a very interesting period ahead for both teams, especially Red Bull, because the relationship between Verstappen and Perez is something that the team needs to fix soon rather than later. And the outcome could be very tragic for Perez. And given that Red Bull has numerous choices and McLaren is experiencing difficulties as a result of the new rules, we may see Norris and the club that sought to recruit him back in 2017 and 2021. So what do you think will happen next for Norris and McLaren? Do you believe that with the Sidel Championship, Norris will be the next to leave the basic squad and try for the win? What is the current status with Red Bull? If you want to be a P1 in Formula 1 news, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications.